Once upon a time, in a deep and mysterious forest, where the trees stood so high that their tops touched the clouds and the sunlight filtered through in fine golden rays, an imposing bear called Balder. He was the undisputed ruler of that place. His coat was a tan dark brown, that in the shade of the trees he almost became invisible. His eyes, of a deep amber, reflected an ancestral calm, as if he carried in himself the wisdom of all who had lived before him. Balder walked through the forest with heavy but silent steps, breathing a presence that made other animals stop in reverence as he passed. On the other side of this vast forest, where the trees were smaller and the ground was covered with dry leaves that would crack at any movement, lived a small fox called Lyra. Unlike Balder, Lyra was known not for her strength, but for her agility and, especially, for her sharp tongue. She had a vibrant red hair that made her stand out anywhere, and her eyes, bright and malicious, were always alert, ready to find any weakness in the other animals to turn it into sharp words. Lyra was proud to be the smartest and sagacious in the forest, but her pride was accompanied by an unrelenting need to prove this superiority. Lyra spent her days sneaking through the forest, teasing the smaller animals with her sarcastic remarks and biting comments. However, no other animal intrigued her as much as Balder. For her, the bear was an enigma, so powerful and imposing, but always so calm and serene. Balder's silent behavior deeply irritated Lyra, who believed that his cunning should be able to elicit any reaction from him. One morning, the sky was covered with gray clouds that promised an imminent storm, but this did not stop Lyra from going on her daily routine of provocations. She found Balder sitting quietly at the foot of a huge tree, his eyes closed as if in deep meditation. Lyra sneaked up, her eyes sparking malice. "Balder," she exclaimed in her high-pitched voice, "you think yourself so powerful, but where is your intelligence? Does a bear like you even understand what I'm saying?" Balder slowly opened his eyes, staring at Lyra. His gaze was penetrating, but at the same time as quiet as the surface of a lake on a windless day. He didn't say a word. Lyra, seeing that her words had no effect, felt her frustration grow. "Why don't you answer, Balder? Afraid to show you're dumber than I thought," she continued, trying in every way to get a reaction from the bear. But Balder, unperturbed, remained silent. He knew that responding to Lyra's provocations would be to stoop to her level. Years of life in the forest had taught him that the true power is not in words uttered in moments of anger, but in the ability to maintain serenity in the face of any challenge. For Balder, silence was the most powerful weapon, a proof of self-control and inner strength that no insult could shake. The days passed, and Lyra did not give up her attempts. She insulted Balder with words that would make any other animal lose its composure, criticized his appearance, his slowness, and even mocked his solitary way of life. However, to each new provocation, Balder responded only with the same calm and serene look, without a single word. The other animals in the forest began to observe the dynamics between the two. Initially, some found Lyra's provocations amusing, but as time passed they realized that while Lyra wore off with his words, Balder remained imposing, like an unshakable rock. Over time, the animals' admiration for Balder grew, and they began to avoid Lyra, tired of his venomous words. Then, on a stuffy afternoon, when the heavy clouds in the sky finally opened into a storm, a violent tremor shook the forest. The ground began to crack, and old trees, which had withstood centuries of winds and storms, began to fall with deafening thunderings. Panic spread quickly among the animals, who ran desperately in search of shelter. Lyra, terrified, ran without direction, while the torrential rain soaked her and the sound of the trunks falling deaf. Balder, however, kept his usual calm. He knew that in times of crisis, panic was the worst enemy. With firm and determined steps, he began to guide the animals to a cave he knew in the mountains, a safe place where everyone could shelter. In the midst of the chaos, he heard a high-pitched scream. It was Lyra, who, in her blind rush, had been caught between two fallen trunks. She struggled desperately, but the more she tried to free herself, the more the logs seemed to close on her. The other animals, who had suffered from Lyra's provocations for so long, hesitated to help her. Some even thought that perhaps it was a deserved punishment for their actions. But Balder, seeing the situation, did not hesitate. With a single powerful movement, he pulled the logs away, releasing the little fox. Then he carefully lifted her up with his big paws and carried her into the cave, protecting her from the storm and danger. When the storm finally passed and the earthquake subsided, the animals were safe in the cave. Lyra, still soaked and trembling with fear, did not know how to react. She was deeply ashamed, not only for being saved by the bear that she had provoked so much, but also for realizing how small and petty her actions had been. The crow, always observant and curious, approached Balder and asked, "Balder, why did you help her? She was always cruel to you, insulting and teasing for no reason. Why did she risk her life for someone who never respected you?" Balder, with his voice low and full of calm, answered, "Each offers what is best. Lyra may have offered me harsh words, but I have the strength and compassion to offer. The true strength is not in fighting back offenses, but in being able to forgive and act with kindness even in front of those who hurt us. Compassion is the greatest demonstration of power." Lyra, hearing these words, felt something change inside of you. She finally understood that her sharp tongue did not make her strong, but rather fragile, while Balder, with his serenity and kindness, showed true greatness. From that day on, Lyra decided to change. She used her intelligence to help others, and her tongue, once sharp, became soft, uttering words of wisdom and support. The forest, formerly divided between Balder's strength and Lyra's cunning, has become a place of harmony where animals have learned to value both physical strength and inner strength. Lyra and Balder, who were formerly opposites, became friends, united by mutual understanding and respect. We can learn from this story that true wisdom and power are in the ability to remain calm and act with compassion, even when provoked. By responding to challenges with serenity and kindness, we show our true strength and avoid the regrets that thoughtless words can bring. Compassion, like silence, can be the most powerful and transformative response in times of crisis. I hope you enjoyed today's reflection. Share with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Resilience and Faith, and activate the bell so you don't miss any story. Until the next.